Okay, so this is the beam in the lounge. I've taken that section out. It was quite rotten. It's quite a challenge to get it out. As you can see, this beam is half rotten, or everywhere where it was in contact with the bricks it's rotted, and all the way along there. So the beam has to come out, and the problem is it's nailed into the floor underneath. So, and the top part of it over here is still quite hard, so it doesn't just come apart. So this is quite a challenge to get this beam out, but it has to be done basically. So the old beam is removed. It was quite a mission. Oh, we're putting in the new beam with damp course. So this basically plastic sheeting runs along the top of that, isolating the wood from the damp. So it should last a bit longer. Alright, so now what we're doing is, wherever these beams go into the wall, they're making contact and it rots there. It's damp, always damp. So we're amputating this thing there and putting a brace on, basically like this. So that beam has been amputated from the wall. It's being supported by that. And there's waterproofing, so it's not in contact with anything damp, as is the case. I've put a helper beam on this one, and that's going right into the wall, supporting on the bricks, also on plastic, so there shouldn't be any contact. I'm going to take all these out and replace them and put plastic down. So you can see it's always damp. That's where it rots. That's where it rots, at that contact point. So eventually, once we're done here now, there will be no contact between brick and wood. That's the idea. Yeah, no contact between brick and wood. Right, so I've cut this out now. Look how rotten that is. Rotten, rotten, rotten. Just falling apart, and that was what this whole section was resting on. So basically that will be floating now. It won't be in contact with the wall, which is always wet. And come on. So that's now floating, as one can see from the back. Which means now this beam will dry out. That beam will dry out, and it will never be wet. And it should last a long time. I'm going to put a helper beam on here to there. But yeah, that's the secret to helping these old beams last longer. Right, so it's Friday the 15th of July 2022, and this is now the second phase of phase 2. These beams are now have been supported by that beam all these years, lying directly on wet concrete and wet brick. That results in, well, rot. So that beam, I'm removing that, as I've done here. Jack it up, remove the beam out, sweep it out, clean it off. Get this ledge looking nice and clean. Put plastic down. Put helper beams, one on this side of this beam, one on that side of the beam. Cut to fit perfectly there, resting on the plastic. And then there's no physical contact of this beam and the wet bricks, so it should dry out. And the helper beams are, because it is compromised at the end there, there's no point in putting wedges or anything under there, so we just put beams across here from about 1 meter, bolt them on, and then it's strong again and it'll be dry. Quite a lot of them to do all the way to the end. That's today's job. Slug seems to have a bug problem. Needs a dip. Okay, so end of second day. All the south side wall's been done. That's the east side wall. That's all done. So we did this today. Put basically helper beams onto each of the trusses or joists, and then cleaned off the ledge and installed the waterproofing. So these are all nice and good now. They should dry out and be there for a long time. Then this is the west wall. It needed a nice helper beam on that. Got that nice and solid. And then these main beams running across on the pillars. I had to chop that piece off there, over here. Chop this off because it was rotten. And I've made a support for it. And I've put a helper beam on the other side. Going onto, let's actually get around this one, have a look. So there's the helper beam. It's resting right on the bricks, supporting these and going to the pillar. And then that one, I just installed a new fresh block underneath with some waterproofing, so it's all waterproofed. And then this corner, which is the entrance into the cavity, I did the same with this one. Amputated the rotten part and gave it a new helper beam and a support. And then I replaced those blocks underneath there with waterproofing. That pillar I haven't got to yet, that I'll get to on Monday. So that's where we are at the end of day 2. These sort of things need to be removed. I'll replace those. Quite a few sort of supports around the place that I want to get waterproofing on. So that will be Monday.